The glass slipped from her hand and shattered against the marble floor, a sound so sharp it seemed to slice through the wedding music. Guests gasped and turned, unsure if it was nerves or a simple accident. But Ariana Cole knew it was neither. Her entire world had just cracked open, just like that glass. She had only picked up Ethan's phone because it buzzed insistently, right as he'd stepped away to greet his best man. She wasn't snooping. She wasn't the jealous type. But curiosity has a cruel sense of timing. When she saw the preview of the message, her heart stopped. After she drinks, text me. It was from an unknown number. The words were simple, chilling, and impossible to ignore. Her hand trembled as she tapped it open, her reflection flickering across the phone screen like a ghost. What she found next didn't just frighten her, it shattered every illusion of love she had built around Ethan. Screenshots, emails, bank transfers, and then, a note. A single line that said, "The inheritance clears after the ceremony." The orchestra played softly in the background, violins weaving a lullaby of love and forever. But for Ariana, every note now sounded like a warning. She looked up at the man she was about to marry, the man whose hand had held hers through heartbreak, whose promises had once made her believe in magic again. And she realized he was smiling, not at her, but at the future he thought he had secured. The chapel was breathtaking. White roses lined the aisle, sunlight poured through stained glass, and every guest was dressed like they had stepped out of a dream. Ariana had spent months planning this day, every detail perfect, every moment crafted to tell their love story. But love had quietly left the room. All that remained was a lie wrapped in lace and champagne. Her mind raced. The message repeated itself over and over like an echo she couldn't silence. After she drinks, text me. It wasn't just betrayal, it was a threat. Her pulse quickened. Could he really be planning to hurt her? Why? For money? For greed? Or had the man she thought she knew never really existed at all? Ariana's gaze drifted to the glass of champagne waiting at her place on the altar table. It sparkled in the light, beautiful, inviting, and suddenly terrifying. She remembered something Ethan's best man, Jared, had said earlier that morning, half joking, "Don't drink too fast, Ari. You'll miss the best part of the toast." She had laughed then. Now it didn't feel funny. Every instinct told her to run, to call the police, to stop the wedding. But the chapel was full, her family watching, her friends smiling, her father dabbing his eyes in the front row. And Ethan stood there, handsome, calm, perfectly composed. If she accused him now and was wrong, she'd destroy not only the wedding but her reputation. But if she stayed silent, she might lose her life. In that impossible moment, Ariana remembered the story her mother once told her. When you don't know what to do, look at what they're afraid of losing. She glanced at Ethan. Beneath the polished charm and perfect smile, his eyes were restless. He kept checking his watch. He wasn't nervous about vows, he was waiting for something. The priest's voice broke through the tension, calling them to the altar. Ariana walked forward slowly, veil trailing behind her like mist. Every step echoed like a countdown. Ethan reached for her hand, and though her lips smiled, her fingers stayed cold. As the ceremony began, the words blurred together, vows, love, forever. Her heart was racing too fast to hear them. Every now and then she glanced at the champagne. Every now and then Ethan did too. The moment the priest said, "You may now share a toast," she knew this was it. Ariana lifted her glass, hand trembling. Ethan did the same. Cameras flashed. Guests cheered. And just before she brought the glass to her lips, she caught sight of something on his wrist, a small red mark. A scar. She'd seen it before, years ago, when he'd told her it was from a kitchen accident. But suddenly, it connected. She had read about that same mark in a police report once, an unsolved poisoning case involving a similar scheme. The realization hit her like thunder. The message, the inheritance, the scar. Ethan wasn't just betraying her, he was repeating a pattern. He had done this before. But Ariana wasn't the same naive woman he thought she was. She placed the glass gently on the table and turned to her bridesmaid, whispering something that made her pale. Then Ariana smiled, a calm, knowing smile, and raised her glass again. "To love," she said softly. "To truth." Ethan's grin widened. He clinked her glass and drank deeply. And that was his mistake. Within seconds, his smile faltered. His face drained of color. He dropped the glass, shattering it like hers had minutes earlier. The guests gasped again, confusion spreading. Ariana stepped back, eyes never leaving his. What did you?" Ethan tried to speak, but his voice was fading. Ariana's calm never broke. "The same drink you prepared for me," she said quietly. But mine wasn't poisoned. The room erupted in chaos. Guests screamed. The priest called for help. Ethan collapsed to the floor, gasping for air as his own plan turned against him. Ariana knelt beside him, not with pity, but with closure. "You could have had everything," she whispered. "But you chose greed." By the time the ambulance arrived, it was over. Ethan was gone. The police soon uncovered the rest, the fake accounts, the hired contact, the previous victims. It turned out Ariana's instincts had saved not only her own life, but others who had fallen for the same trap. In the days that followed, her wedding dress hung untouched in the back of a closet, a ghost of what could have been. The media swarmed the story, calling her the bride who outsmarted death. But for Ariana, it wasn't about fame or revenge. It was about reclaiming her strength. She disappeared from the spotlight for a while, moved to a quiet coastal town, and started painting again, the hobby she'd abandoned during her engagement. Each stroke of color on the canvas helped her heal, helped her remember that love isn't about grand gestures or perfect appearances. It's about truth, and sometimes, survival. Years later, she opened a small art gallery called The Glass Bride. Inside, one painting stood at the center, 2 champagne glasses, one shattered, one standing tall, light pouring through them like forgiveness. Visitors would ask her what it meant, and she'd smile softly. "It means that even when everything breaks," she'd say, "you can still find beauty in the pieces." Ariana's story became a quiet legend, a tale whispered at weddings and shared in late-night conversations about love and trust. Some called her lucky, others called her brave, but she knew it wasn't luck or courage that saved her. It was the simple act of paying attention when the world told her not to. Because sometimes, the deadliest secrets aren't hidden in the dark, they're right there, glowing on a phone screen, waiting for someone strong enough to see the truth. And on that day, minutes before saying, "I do," Ariana Cole chose not to be a victim. She chose to live.